I was saying y'all but Rico from Street Scores, and we're coming with the breakdown from all of the advanced statistics and Pro Football Focus grades from that Chiefs preseason game. This time we're discussing defense and special teams. We already broke down offense a couple of days ago. Again, today is defense and special teams. And of course, it's not done by position when you go by Pro Football Focus. It's done by specific things done. So there's rushing the passer, there's coverage, and run defense. And of course, again, we'll also talk about special teams as well. We're going to take a look at all of the top grades, and we're going to look at who was the top at specific things. Who was the best run defender, who was the best tackler, who was the best pass rusher, best in coverage, all of that type of stuff. Because of course, there's an order of overall grades who was the best, but then certain guys were the best at certain things. Like, sneak peek, David Obada had our best overall grade out of our entire defense from that Chiefs preseason game, but he didn't have our highest pass rushing grade or tackling. Pro Football Focus just felt like he played the best overall. And of course, I'm not really here to agree or disagree, but you know, sometimes I'll make some comments here and there, but I'm mostly here to present what the grades are and to try to analyze what they mean. Because specifically for guys like a Jamin Davis, with his rush grades being so high, that's very encouraging. So we're going to take a look at all of that type of stuff. What grades should we be concerned about? What grades should we be excited about? Again, it's grades, it's subjective, so we can't put all of our stock into it. But I feel like Pro Football Focus does put in a lot of time and effort to do these grades. Again, it's not necessarily whether they're right or wrong. I just think it's interesting to use them as a reference to analyze and break down. Of course, everybody should go watch their own film. Even after I do some film sessions, go watch your own film and see what you take from it. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Friday for the Broadcast Podcast, where we laugh about everything sports, music, anime, gaming, whatever. Also, just to warn y'all, we will not have the stream next week, and then we may have the stream the week after that. Friday wise, I will still be gone in New York, but Shay and Jalen may hold it down while I'm gone, so be on the lookout for that. And then also make sure you pull up every Sunday for the call-in live stream. I'll have that this Sunday after the Ravens game, but I will not be having that the next Sunday, but I will be back the following Sunday, which is the regular season. Now, I'm more than likely not going to be back in time to actually live stream during the game, but we'll still have our post-game live stream. And of course, I'll also do my game review in a video. So make sure y'all stay tuned for all of that. I promise y'all I'm gonna have content coming out even while I'm gone, because I'm working on some videos ahead of time, so the channel is not gonna die while I'm gone. And plus, I'm also gonna record a lot of this stuff while we're in New York and try to edit it and put it out hopefully sometime later in the year on my travel channel, if y'all want to check out like a lot of the stuff that we do in New York, because it's pretty chaotic. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, so as y'all can already see, and y'all can see while I was even doing the intro, you can see exactly whose grades were the highest. David Obada first, Shaka Toney second, Kendall Fuller third, Jacob Panajuk fourth, William Bradley King fifth, Tyler Clark sixth, David Mayo seventh, 8th Justin Hamilton, 9th Efe Obada, and 10th Daniel Wise, and it just keeps going and going. And I'm gonna scroll down just so y'all can see some more names while I'm talking. But again, like I keep saying with all of these, especially the preseason ones where we do these Pro Football Focus grades and advanced statistics, it's really hard to gauge exactly what to take from this because it is preseason. It's backups going against backups, and the starters barely play much. And so these grades are small sample sizes, and then again, it's really hard to tell how good somebody is, because when a backup is balling against backups, you know, his grade is high and he looked really good, but what would he do against the starters? Like our backup defensive lineman out here balling like David Obada. How good would he look if he were going against the starting Chiefs O-line? So these preseason ones are a little bit difficult to truly break down and take something from, because again, sample size and level of competition is weird. But I'm gonna continue doing this series throughout the regular season as well, so it's gonna be way easier to actually truly take something from these Pro Football Focus grades, and especially these advanced analytics, because again, the sample size being so small, just like I broke down in that previous video where we broke down the offensive grades and advanced statistics against the Chiefs in that second preseason game, with Curtis Samuel playing all of his snaps in the slot, but he only played like 9 snaps. He had no out wide snaps. But in a regular season game, when he's playing all 4 quarters, he may not even be in the slot all of the time, and maybe not even the majority of the time. Maybe he plays mostly in the slot, but does have some snaps outside rather than 0. So it's hard to like take that sample size and then multiply it by 4 and just assume that he'll have all snaps in the slot and none outside, because that's all he did in 1 quarter in that preseason game against the Chiefs. But again, David Obada has our highest defense grade. I love the fact that Shaka Toney is as high as he is. Of course, ideally you prefer the starters to be the ones that's highest up, and we have a couple. You have Shaka Toney. I'm surprised by David Mayos, and we're going to take a look at him when we get to run defense and all of that, which is actually crazy too, because his run defense grade was his lowest grade. He was better in coverage than run defense, and that's just ridiculous. That's making me question Pro Football Focus, but I'm gonna have to go back and look at the tape to truly see what was going on. And that's another reason we look at this, because Pro Football Focus gives you something to look for when you go back and rewatch tape. You're like, okay, he was good in coverage but bad in run defense, and he's usually the complete opposite. Let me go back and look at the tape and see what he did in both of those areas. So that's another good reason to reference these Pro Football Focus grades, even if you don't take them as sole truth. But starter wise, you also have Daron Payne, Montez Sweat as starters here. Jamin Davis is pretty high. Derek Forrest, he's going to be part of the heavy rotation even if he doesn't technically start. That's really good that he's that high. Benjamin St-Juste, Jonathan Allen, all of these guys. So you're mostly looking for the starters or guys like Percy Butler and Derek Forrest that are going to play a lot. And sadly, at the very bottom, you have Cole Holcomb only behind Danny Johnson, who's our direct backup slot to Benjamin St-Juste. So just to flip it to look at the worst overall grades, it is kind of sad that you have some starters out here, and even for Darian Mathis, another guy that technically won't start, but he'll be part of a heavy rotation. Cameron Curl, Bobby McCain, that's not a good look. Definitely not a good look. Not very encouraging, but we'll see, because again, it's preseason. We're not trying to show our hands, but at the same time, the Chiefs were doing the same thing, not trying to show too much, and they were able to ball out, so it's really no excuse. And then run defense wise, David Obada was your highest grade. Cole Holcomb, pretty good. Right behind him, Jeremy Reeves behind him. I'm surprised by that. Tyler Clark, who's more than likely not even making the roster though. Jamin Davis, that's very encouraging. That's my happiest run defense grade out of all of these. The fact that Jamin Davis has put together consecutive preseason games of performing well to very well in the run defense. I think this was his highest run defense grade so far in the preseason between the Panthers and the Chiefs game. Hopefully he continues to build on that going against the Ravens if he plays. And then you have Daron Payne, Shaka Toney, which is also very encouraging. Shaka Toney is known for being a pass rush specialist, a pure just third and long, go get the quarterback, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the pass rush grades, because he did just that. But the fact that he's stepping up in run defense is very encouraging, and it shows that he may deserve more playing time than he's originally getting. And then Cameron Curl, that's pretty good, because he was pretty bad in coverage, but at least he was really good in run defense, and I think he will step up and be that strong safety that plays around the box quite often, so that's good to hear. And then Daron Payne, I mean, we of course need him to step up. He's a starter. And then William Jackson, I'm surprised, because he's supposed to be just out here blanketing the best receiver on the other team. A 61.1 run defense grade is actually pretty good for what we're asking from him. Then you also have Benjamin St-Juste. Those are the biggest questions for him. And even though this grade isn't bad, it's also not great. But his biggest question as to why he can't be like a permanent starter out there, because we're going to have 5 DBs on the field probably at least 80% of the time. And maybe like another 15 will be 5 defensive linemen. I highly doubt we'll have 3 linebackers out there more than 5% of the time of this season. I highly doubt it. But Benjamin St-Juste, the only reason we don't see him being out there a lot and out there as much as most of the starters is because his lack of run defense prowess. If he can learn how to defend the run and set the edge and disengage from offensive linemen and make plays in the run game, he's going to be on the field a lot. And even though this grade isn't great, this is better than what I expected. But at the same time, I mean, what can we really take from this? So many guys are 60.0s exactly, so I just don't know how accurate this is. But again, it's preseason. It's really hard to grade these guys. Small sample sizes and, you know, different levels of competition. You have Daniel Wise out here and David Obada out here going against a lot of backups, so of course they look better than like a Jonathan Allen. who's 29th in run defense because he had to go against the starting Chiefs O-line. So again, it's really weird. These preseason editions of these videos are really hard to truly believe in and take something from, like I keep saying. But again, we're almost to the regular season, so I'm gonna continue this series and these grades will make a lot more sense. And then pass rush wise is when we start to have fun. Of course, Shaka Toney's #1. I could have told you he would have been #1 before we even got to that Chiefs game, because even in that Panthers game, he had some really good pass rush snaps. But he had that one moment where he ripped off Matt Corral's helmet, and that just, he ended the play poorly. But the first 80-85% of the play was excellent. And like I keep saying, Shaka Toney, he has to make this roster because he can do things that nobody else on this team can do as far as bend and explosion off the line. Love Chase Young, love Montez Sweat, but they don't have the pure, quick, speedy pass rush specialist ability that he has. They don't. And also, of course, I'm very high on Shaka Toney. I think he can even cover and play some Sam linebacker for us, but so far we haven't utilized him like that. I would love to do that just so he can be on the field more in general, but utilizing him as a pass rush specialist just purely as of right now, at least that's something. And I think he will at least make the team for that because Ron Rivera is always complimenting him. And again, nobody else has that bend that he has. And again, it shows in these games, bro. That man had 2 sacks on only 6 official pass rushes. That's a ridiculous amount of pressure. On 6 pass rush snaps to get 2 sacks is incredible production. That's a 100 sack season if you were to project that throughout the course of a season, if he were to get 2 sacks for every 6 sacks that he plays. That's ridiculous. Of course, that's literally impossible and that would never happen, but that's just how impressive it was for him to get 2 sacks and 6 snaps. But again, he was also going against backups, so you also have to take that into account. But he had a win rate of 60%. He didn't have any passes batted down, but boy, he was not playing about the pressures. And then in second place, you had Justin Hamilton, William Bradley King. That's very encouraging because he's fighting for one of those last roster spots. Efe Obada, I think he's going to make the team as well, and he looked really good. I'm surprised his grade wasn't even higher. He looked good in all fronts. Him and David Bada really impressed as our international players. They were out there balling in that Chiefs game. I was very happy with what I saw from them. 6th was Jacob Panajuk. You have Fadarian Mathis 7th, which is interesting because he wasn't very good against the run, but he was better in pass rush, and that's the complete opposite of what you'd expect. And a lot of grades are like that, especially for the defense from the Chiefs game. Then James Smith-Williams, Casey Toohill, Jonathan Allen, Daniel Wise, Montez Sweat. And then you even have guys like Benjamin St-Juste, who only had 1 pass rush snap, but you know, he was out there trying to do his thing. David Mayo's pass rushing grade is higher than what I thought it would have been. And then Jamin Davis and Deron Payne, I guess, were the most disappointing according to Pro Football Focus. Now the fun, we're on to the coverage grades, and Kendall Fuller apparently balled out. Y'all know Pro Football Focus loves Kendall Fuller. They had him rated as the 2nd best corner in the NFL from last season, according to their grades. So they always love Kendall Fuller. I don't know if they're biased towards him, whatever he's doing, they love him. Now granted, he actually did have a really good game outside of that 1 touchdown that he allowed. Outside of that, he actually had really good coverage, and that was very encouraging. That looked more like what I've been hearing from out of training camp, with him being one of the best players on the team this offseason. We finally saw some of that in that preseason game against the Chiefs, again outside of that 1 touchdown that was, you know, really difficult to cover anyway. That was a perfect pass and route and all of that, right on the edge of the end zone. And then very encouraging, Khaleke Hudson had a really good coverage grade, and I'm surprised because he hasn't looked good, and even the little bit that I noticed him in that Chiefs game, I didn't see him pop, but apparently Pro Football Focus feels like he balled out. And then most surprising, like we already talked about, David Mayo with the high coverage grade is unheard of. I'm completely shocked by that. I'm gonna have to really go back and look at the film because I just don't believe it. I don't care what's going on. And then Jeremy Reeves, Christian Holmes, Dejon Harris, Jamin Davis, that's very encouraging. DeJuan Neal, my boy Percy Butler, Derek Forrest right there neck and neck together. Josh Drayden, Steven Parker, didn't really notice him as much as I did in the Panthers game, but a 62.6 isn't bad. That's still pretty straight. You even had Shaka Toney, who had a 60 coverage grade. That's very interesting. James Smith-Williams, all of those guys. Casey Toohill had to go out and coverage 1 play. But sadly, Bobby McCain didn't have a great grade. Cameron Curl, I remember him getting exposed a couple of plays. He didn't have a good grade. William Jackson III, I thought he was good. I thought that pass interference called against him was not a real pass interference. I thought that was a great play by him. And then he was barely targeted after that because I'm just assuming he was out there taking the receiver out of the play. That man, Pat Mahomes, didn't even want to target him for the rest of the game. And that's how a lot of the second half of last season went when our defense was playing way better. William Jackson was was basically shutting down an entire third of the field, shutting down a receiver, and was barely getting thrown towards. Now, of course, Danny Johnson, that's not good, and I remember vividly him getting beat on some routes. And then Cole Holcomb, granted, Travis Kelce was some of it, but then it was even like the backup Chiefs tight end that was beating them in coverage. So Cole Holcomb has improved in coverage since his rookie season, but he's still not ready. Now, I don't think it's this bad. I thought he just had like a bad day and the Chiefs were literally picking on him, but what's stopping other teams from doing that? So we got to work on that, Cole Holcomb, for sure. And then now to look at coverages per corner based on the receivers they were covering. Kendall Fuller with an 87 grade, shut down quite a bit of the guys, even Sky Moore, but apparently Justin Watson and Joe Fortson had good reps against them. Cameron Curl basically allowed everybody to have good reps against him. Cole Holcomb, I mean, abysmal coverage grade and was getting beat. Again, he got beat by Travis Kelce and even other guys that are nowhere near as good as Travis Kelce, so no wonder his grade is that low. Benjamin St-Juste got killed on a route by Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That was the one where he kind of like went up a little underneath and then went up, and then Benjamin St-Juste was lost and couldn't catch up, and thank goodness Pat Mahomes overthrew him. But that was probably Benjamin St-Juste's worst rep in coverage the whole day. But other than that, I think he was pretty straight. Then Danny Johnson, even though the guys that went against him didn't have great grades, apparently they did against him. Now, as you can see, this is their overall grade period for the entire day. This is not specifically Corey Coleman had a 52.4 grade against Danny Johnson. He had a 52 grade overall, which means he must have been getting shut down by everybody else covering him, including Benjamin St-Juste. But when he went against Danny Johnson, he had a better time. Channing Stribling had a bad coverage day, and apparently that boy Cornell Powell was getting him. Christian Holmes apparently had a really good coverage day. Cornell Powell was the only good receiver against him. That man did a good job against Josh Gordon. Remember, Josh Gordon is supposed to have all of the talent in the world. It was just that weed problem. And I'm excited to see if he can ever bounce back, because he was a top 8 receiver in the NFL in his height of the Cleveland Brown days. The team was terrible. His quarterbacks were terrible. Brady Quinn. But he was out here getting 1,000-yard seasons and all of that. Then Josh Drayden had a bad time against Cornell Powell. Looks like Cornell Powell was just basically getting everybody to business, but his grade overall wasn't that bad, so he probably did better against them than other guys. And then Bobby McCain out here getting killed. I mean, I vividly remember the tight end. Bobby McCain was lined up as your slot corner on that play, and Noah Gray killed him on the route and got above him. William Jackson apparently didn't have a great day, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling didn't necessarily have a great day either, but apparently William Jackson wasn't that good, but I thought from what I saw, he was pretty good. Corn Elder, not a great day going against Josh Gordon. Milo Eifler, not a great day going against Derek Gore, even though Derek Gore did not have a great day himself overall. Dejon Harris, pretty good day, but apparently Joe Fortson had a good day as well, but maybe not against him. And then it just keeps going and going. You got Khalid Hudson, you got Jeremy Reeves. If you want to pause it and take a deeper look at it, you can. I mean, of course, Derek Forrest against Travis Kelce is not fair. And then Jamin Davis against Isaiah Pacheco. I thought he did a great job covering him. There was even one play where they tried to pick off Jamin Davis and literally have like a rub route, and he literally ended up getting hit by the receiver running his route. I mean, completely picked off, and he still went and caught up to Isaiah Pacheco and shut down the route, and Pat Mahomes didn't even want to throw it. And then they also have breakdowns of who was the best corner against specific receivers. So I'll scroll through this, and if you like want to pause it to take a longer look at it, you can, but I'm just going to scroll through it real quick just to give everybody an opportunity to see what's going on. Again, this is from the point of view of the receiver now. Instead of it being from the point of view of the corner, it's from the point of view of the receiver. So, you know, just another interesting way to look at the coverage grades and things like that. And now it's basically time to go ahead and head to special teams, which I'm really excited about because they have been terrible and we really need these guys to step up. So our highest special teams grade was Jacob Panajute, who probably won't even make the team, sadly. Then you also have Jared Patterson, who honestly may not make the 53-man roster either. He's probably destined for the practice squad. Then you have Derek Forrest, Efe Obada, Shaka Toney, Kelvin Harmon, who got released, Milo Eifler, Danny Johnson, Marcus Michelle, and then Steven Parker. And then I'm just keep scrolling while I'm talking about special teams so y'all can see more grades. And really, we just got to be better, bro. Now, granted, that Chiefs game was not as bad as the Panthers game, but it also wasn't great. And I'm talking returning. I'm talking special teams blocking. Like, our returners haven't necessarily been great on their end either, but also the special teams blocking has been so bad. These guys really haven't had a chance a lot of the times. Punts and kickoffs, it's been really bad. So we got to be better on all fronts. And even Joey Sly and Tress Way were a little off. Well, Joey Sly missed that extra point against the Panthers, which worried me, but he was solid against the Chiefs, even though he never had to kick anything serious. But Tress Way, early in that game in the first quarters, while it was still starters versus starters, kicked a punt into the back of the end zone. And I thought that was a pretty easy situation that he would normally kick it like right within the 5-yard line. So he was even a little off. So against these Ravens, like I already talked about in my Ravens preview whole breakdown of all of the things we need to watch for, the 7 most important players, position group, and things to truly look out for during that preseason game, like I spoke about in that video, these special teams guys are technically the starters all game. The guys that are playing on special teams throughout the preseason game, those are our only starters. These are the only guys that are going to be doing the same exact thing in the regular season all game, doing what they're doing all game in preseason games. So there's no excuse. It's not like we have backup special teams guys out there right now. We have the guys that are actually going to do special teams things, special teams coverage, returning all of that blocking in the regular season games, and I'm speaking into existence postseason games, are the same guys that are doing it all game in these preseason games. So the fact that they look bad has definitely worried me, because it's not like we can use the excuse, oh, it's just the backup special teams guys. There's really no such thing right now. That's not true. These are like the guys, again, that are going to be doing it in real games. So hopefully against the Ravens, they look vastly improved from what they've looked the first 2 games. Against the Panthers game was the worst, so they improved a little bit going into the Chiefs game, but I need to see a big step in improvement in this Ravens game, especially for the guys that's like the back end of the roster, guys that are depth guys fighting for a roster spot and things like that. I'm expecting to see them ball out with the opportunities in special teams, because that may be the only way that they make this team, or at least the primary reason that they make this team. Remember, we finally cut Troy Apke, who was a special teams ace, and we still got guys like Cam Sims that's a great special teams player, and we brought in Derek Forrest and Percy Butler. All of these guys are great special teams players. Derek Forrest is basically replacing what DeShazer Everett used to do for us. But my boy Samus Reyes was also a really good special teams player, and he's gone. So we need guys to step up. And remember, kick return wise, Antonio Gibson is our starter. I don't think he's our starter for punt returns. We'll see who that will end up being, because whoever that is between Dax Milne and Alex Erickson is probably going to be the guy that makes a team. I think Dax Milne is in the league, but we'll see. And speaking of Antonio Gibson, he didn't do too well grade wise for special teams, but hopefully he can step up and show what he can do in this Ravens preseason game and show that he deserves to be our starting returner, because what he did in college was amazing. I'm expecting greatness out of him in that front. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like in this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Of course, let me know if you want me to continue doing videos like these throughout the regular season when this data makes a lot more sense and we can truly dive into a lot more advanced statistics. Of course, in my game reviews after the game, I'm gonna try to bring up statistics, but these Pro Football Focus advanced statistics videos are gonna be the times that I bring in the next gen stats and the yards per attempt on throws and yards per catch and yards per carry after contact and things like. I'm gonna bring all of that data to these Pro Football Focus grades. So if you love advanced data and grades, I'm putting them all into one video. Offense one video, defense and special teams the next throughout the regular season. Again, let me know if you like these videos so I can keep them coming. And of course, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors. Let me see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.